Kody Brown's Reckoning, From Sister Wives to Special Forces, Redefining Manhood, Respect, and Resilience. For over a decade, Kody Brown has lived under the microscope, his every argument, affection, and confession broadcast across millions of screens through Sister Wives. Once the confident patriarch at the center of TLC's reality TV empire, Brown was a man defined by polygamy, family tension, and the often uncomfortable intersections between faith, love, and ego. But at 57, Kody has embarked on a very different kind of test, one that strips away the cameras, the couch confessions, and the family drama. On Fox's Special Forces, World's Toughest Test, Brown isn't the husband, father, or self-proclaimed leader. He's a recruit, enduring military-grade trials that force him to prove something not to his wives, his fans, or his critics, but to himself. It's here, in mud and exhaustion, that Kody Brown begins a public reckoning with what manhood, respect, and responsibility truly mean. A man in transition. In the October 23 episode of Special Forces, World's Toughest Test, viewers watched a version of Kody Brown that felt rawer and less performative than the man audiences knew from Sister Wives. Gone were the long debates about loyalty or the defensive monologues about faith and leadership. Instead, he stood shoulder to shoulder with co-star Gia Giudice, daughter of Real Housewives of New Jersey's Teresa Giudice, as the two dragged heavy gear through a swampy obstacle course. Breathing hard, his face streaked with mud and determination, Brown offered a line that felt both humble and revealing. "Here's the thing, I don't consider myself a great leader. However, true manhood and masculinity involve taking responsibility for the necessary tasks and completing them." It's a stripped-down definition, far from the lofty spiritual language he once used to justify plural marriage or to define authority within his family. In Special Forces, there's no room for philosophy, only action, grit, and consequence. Brown's statement reflects a man stepping out of his mythology. For years, Sister Wives audiences saw him as a man who needed control to validate his role. Now, under the guidance of military veterans and special ops instructors, he's discovering a version of masculinity rooted not in dominance, but in accountability. The weight of the past. To understand the emotional charge behind Kody Brown's transformation, one must return to where his public identity began, Sister Wives, the 2010 TLC series that made him both famous and polarizing. The show followed Kody and his four wives, Meri, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn, as they attempted to balance faith, jealousy, and a sprawling family dynamic across multiple homes. The early seasons were curious and even lighthearted. The Browns positioned themselves as ambassadors for plural marriage, hoping to challenge stereotypes about polygamy. However, as the years progressed, tensions began to surface. Viewers began to see the emotional cost of living under one man's authority, the wives' struggles for independence, validation, and equality. The last few seasons, leading up to 2025, were defined by separations and heartache. Christine left in 2021, Janelle followed, and Meri later confirmed her spiritual and emotional split from Kody. Season 20 found the once unified family irreparably fractured. Kody remained married only to Robyn, his youngest wife, and for many fans, he had become a symbol of arrogance and misplaced pride. So when Kody appeared on Special Forces, viewers didn't just see a reality star competing in a physical challenge, they saw a man at a crossroads, searching for redemption, even if he didn't name it as such. Masculinity under pressure. Special Forces, World's Toughest Test is no ordinary competition show. The participants are thrown into grueling environments, freezing water, high-altitude descents, tactical endurance tasks, all designed to break down celebrity personas and expose character. Kody Brown's participation in this environment is particularly symbolic. After years of being accused of ego and favoritism, Special Forces forced him to rely on teamwork, humility, and silence, qualities not often associated with his Sister Wives persona. During the season premiere, he reflected on the emotional hunger he felt for respect as a man. "I'm going to say this at the risk of sounding sexist," he said. "But I think men want to be respected, and women want to be loved. I don't care if you love me. I care if you respect me." It's an echo of an internal war, one between pride and vulnerability. Kody's words may raise eyebrows, yet they reveal a man grappling with his sense of worth. For him, respect isn't about admiration, it's validation that he is still capable of purpose after the collapse of his once mighty household. Later, after completing a daring rappel from a helicopter, he confessed, "To do the hard things is to be good at being a man. And every once in a while, you need just proof of who you are." This line, quietly delivered but heavy with meaning, distills Kody's transformation. His old life was built on ideology, faith, family structure, and the supposed sanctity of polygamy. His new one is built on effort, sweat, and action. A shift from control to contribution. In interviews following the show's filming, Kody described Special Forces as life-affirming. For someone long cast as controlling, the shift in language, from authority to affirmation, marks a subtle evolution. I really appreciated the difficulty of Special Forces because it was very life-affirming, he told People in September. You accomplish a very difficult task with other people, and there's a camaraderie you develop for it. Sadly, Sister Wives has really become an experience of criticism and backbiting. The contrast is stark. Sister Wives magnified dysfunction, Special Forces demanded unity. For Kody, who once commanded a family of 18, it may have been the first time in years that he felt part of a team rather than the leader of one. And perhaps, that's the point. In Special Forces, no one cares about fame. The instructors, decorated veterans and elite soldiers, treat celebrities like raw recruits. Stripped of privilege and hierarchy, participants are judged by stamina, courage, and humility. That leveling effect seems to have resonated deeply with Brown. Where Sister Wives trapped him in endless debates and spiritual authority, Special Forces reduced him to a simple identity, a man doing difficult things alongside others doing the same. The mirror of adversity. The beauty of Special Forces lies in its psychological element. Each recruit faces not just the obstacle course but also themselves, their fears, regrets, and insecurities. For Kody Brown, that internal confrontation may have been long overdue. He entered the competition at a time when his personal life was in ruins. Christine had remarried, Janelle was rebuilding her independence, Meri had publicly released her attachment to the plural family. His only remaining relationship, with Robyn, was under strain as well, haunted by the ghosts of the others. Kody has admitted that his time in Special Forces felt almost like a pivot away from my life. The experience with Special Forces was life-affirming in the sense that I got so much out of it, almost like a pivot away from my life, my real life, he told People. In that phrasing, my real life, lies an irony. For years, Sister Wives was branded as a look into his real life. But the reality show version of Kody was one trapped in narrative loops, replaying the same conflict season after season. Special Forces, by contrast, forced immediacy. There were no retakes, no confessionals. Just the present moment, a man and his endurance. The lesson that stuck. Perhaps the most profound takeaway for Kody came not from competition but from wisdom imparted by one of the instructors, Rudy Reyes, a combat veteran and motivational coach whose words have inspired countless participants across the show's seasons. He said, "Stop doing what you shouldn't, and start doing what you should." Brown recalled. That's a lesson I've started applying in my life. I could have used the advice 10 years ago. That statement hits with quiet regret. 10 years ago, Kody's family was intact, his image unbroken, and his wives still loyal to a shared vision. To admit that such wisdom might have changed that trajectory reveals humility, a trait viewers rarely saw in his earlier years. It's not self-pity, it's self-recognition. Brown seems aware that many of his wounds were self-inflicted, that leadership without listening becomes tyranny, and that love without respect collapses under ego. Now, stripped of his former power structures, he appears to be learning a simpler lesson. Responsibility isn't about being obeyed, it's about showing up. From patriarch to participant. Reality television has a habit of making its stars caricatures. On Sister Wives, Kody was the overconfident head of a polygamist family, often framed as defensive, volatile, and hypocritical. But Special Forces offer something he never had before, a setting where there's nothing to defend and everything to prove. The show's premise dismantles celebrity personas. Its participants, from athletes to actors, are placed in the same uniform, denied luxury, and made to confront physical and mental suffering. The only currency is grit. For Brown, that meant stepping into a world where no one cared about his fame or family, where respect couldn't be demanded, only earned. It's telling that he has described the experience not as fun, but as affirming. He's not celebrating victory, he's acknowledging clarity. You accomplish a very difficult task with other people, and there's a camaraderie you develop for it, he said. It's the opposite of isolation, the very condition that defined his later Sister Wives years. Redefining manhood in public. Kody Brown's recent remarks about masculinity may polarize audiences, but they also reflect a deeper search for identity. His line, "To do the hard things is to be good at being a man," reads like a manifesto born of struggle. In his worldview, masculinity isn't about superiority, it's about endurance. That framing aligns less with cultural machismo and more with Stoic philosophy, the idea that character is forged in hardship, not dominance. It's also an implicit rebuttal to how viewers have perceived him for years. Kody of Sister Wives often equated leadership with control, confusing authority with validation. The Kody of Special Forces seems to understand that true leadership begins when ego falls away. Such evolution doesn't erase his past. Critics may argue that his newfound humility is too little, too late, that his former wives suffered years of emotional neglect while he sought respect instead of offering understanding. But even cynics might concede that the man who once preached certainty now speaks with nuance. And that, in its own way, is growth. Rebuilding outside the spotlight. For Kody Brown, the aftermath of Special Forces seems to mark the start of a quieter chapter. Gone are the days of sprawling family meetings or public defenses of polygamy. His focus now appears to be inward and forward. His marriage to Robyn remains, though their relationship has faced intense scrutiny as the last remaining bond in a family once defined by plurality. Brown himself has acknowledged how painful the collapse of his other marriages was and how Special Forces offered a reprieve from that emotional weight. The irony, of course, is that the show, which pushed him to his limits physically, may have also helped restore his mental balance. While Sister Wives captured the chaos of a family disintegrating, Special Forces caught the slow rebuilding of one man's sense of purpose. What comes next? Kody Brown's journey is far from over. He remains a public figure, still navigating the aftershocks of his past choices. But Special Forces may represent a kind of symbolic redemption, not a perfect one, but an honest one. The show doesn't hand out trophies, its value lies in transformation. And for a man like Kody, whose reputation has long been entangled with controversy, that transformation carries weight. The lessons he took from the experience, teamwork, responsibility, humility, are universal, but they also cut deeply into his personal narrative. They hint at a man who's finally willing to confront the contradictions between how he saw himself and how he behaved. If the early years of Sister Wives were about control, the next phase of Kody's story may be about surrender, to reality, to vulnerability, and to the work of becoming a better version of himself. The symbolism of struggle. In a way, Special Forces functions as a metaphor. Every obstacle course, every muddy crawl, and every cold night mirrors the emotional gauntlet of Kody's life. Dragging a weighted pack across a battlefield becomes symbolic of dragging the weight of past choices, marriages lost, relationships strained, reputations questioned. Each physical challenge strips away another layer of self-deception. The body's limits become a map to the soul's reckoning. When Kody says, to do the hard things is to be successful at being a man, he's not just referring to the tasks on the show. He's referring to the emotional heavy lifting he avoided for years, the apologies unspoken, the self-awareness delayed. Now, the same man who once demanded respect from others is learning to earn it, from himself. A coda on accountability. The phrase that may linger longest from Kody's Special Forces experience is one borrowed from instructor Rudy Reyes. What should you be doing that you're not, and what are you doing that you shouldn't? It's a deceptively simple question that slices through any illusion of control. It forces introspection, accountability, and, ultimately, change. For Kody Brown, the answer might unfold slowly, not in television episodes or interviews, but in the quiet, untelevised parts of life where no cameras are watching. Conclusion, proof of the man. In the end, Kody Brown's appearance on Special Forces isn't about spectacle, it's about stripping away spectacle. For years, his identity was built on being the center of attention, the patriarch, the husband, the controversial voice of polygamy. But in a desert training camp, knee-deep in mud, he rediscovered something far simpler, that strength isn't about being followed, it's about showing up and doing the work. Whether audiences forgive him or not may be irrelevant. The true test isn't public opinion, it's whether he can sustain the humility and insight he found under pressure. Perhaps that's why his words resonate more now than ever. Every once in a while, you need proof of who you are. And for Kody Brown, that proof no longer comes from leading others but from facing himself.